All right, welcome back to another episode of Beer, Bacon, and Bros. As always, tonight it's just Keith and Chris. We're going to be going into some baseball projections since it's that time of year again. It's the best time of year. It's baseball season. But before we get into that, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We're on the push for 300. It's free to you guys. It really helps us out. And for those of you who are subscribed, we greatly appreciate it. We love you guys. Thank you very much. Yep. Make sure you're dropping some likes on those videos and some comments. We'll get back to all comments. Even if you tell us we suck, we don't know what we're talking about. We really don't care. So we'll get back to you and let you know what we think.
Yep.
But like I said, we're going to get into some baseball projections. Tonight we're going to be discussing the American League Central, which consists of the Cleveland...
The worst team to ever make the playoffs. The Cleveland
yeah. Cleveland Guardians.
Yeah, sorry,
Guardians.
Yeah.
They're not the Indians anymore. We're
Sorry.
going to get us canceled here.
Yeah.
So, like I said, in the division, we have the Cleveland Guardians, the Chicago White Sox, the Minnesota Twins, the Detroit Tigers, and the Kansas City Royals. So we're going to discuss what we think about these teams, what they did in this offseason, where we think they're going to land, where we think they're going to land in this upcoming season, and just
we're going to
shit talk the horrible teams that are in this division, the Tigers and Royals. Sorry, Jim.
And Twins.
And the Twins. Well, the Twins aren't. They had a bad year last year, but
yeah.
So anyway, getting into it, we'll start off with the worst team to make the playoffs last year, as Chris liked to say, the Cleveland Guardians. Not to be confused with the Cleveland Indians,
who don't survive or
who only live on in Major League Baseball or Major League the movie now. So, like I said, jumping into it, going into the Cleveland Guardians depth chart. Looking at what they did in this offseason, I'm not really sure if they really added
Josh
much.
Bell.
They did add Josh
DH.
Bell. He's not playing first?
No, he's DHing for them.
Oh, because they have Josh Naylor at first. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, Josh Bell's a huge add for them at DH. Really puts a lot of protection on Jose Ramirez. Yeah. I feel if you line those two back to back, that's really going to put a lot of protection on Jose Ramirez.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to really want to pitch to Josh Bell because Josh Bell is a 300 hitter. So I mean, you definitely don't want to let Jose Ramirez get on base and let him hit. I mean, he might not hit 300 last year, but he's been a solid hitter.
Yeah, he's a 262 career hitter. The year before in Washington, he hit 300. But a guy that when he was in Pittsburgh, I mean, he hit 26 homers, 37 homers, 12 homers. So.
He's got some power.
He's got 20 home run power, which finally gives a little protection to Jose Ramirez. But I think they have some power on their lineup in general. I mean, Mike Zunino can certainly be a guy at catcher that can hit 20 homers.
Yeah, he's boomer bust though.
Really bad year last year.
Really bad year every year in the major leagues.
Yeah, pretty much. So,
but you look at their lineup. They have Stephen Kwan, who was an up and comer last year, who had a great year. Ahmad Rosario is a great shortstop for them.
Miles Straw stole
Miles Straw had a bunch of stolen bases last year.
Yeah.
32. No, that's RBIs. I'm sorry.
He stole 21 bases.
21 bases. Okay.
He was hot early. I feel like that man stole 10 bases in his first week.
He did because he was a major ad last year. So, but looking at their pitching staff, I mean, their pitching staff is really solid. Shane Bieber, is the ace of that rotation. Tristan McKenzie coming in hot this year. He's
a 200 strikeout guy.
Oh yeah, he's going to strike out a bunch of people. Cal Quantrill's a great guy for them to be in that third starter role. Zach Plesac is a good fourth pitcher, and Aaron Savale had a good year last year. So I mean, I really like where their pitching is at, especially the starting positions. I'm not really sure about what they have in the bullpen outside of Emmanuel Clase.
Yeah, Emmanuel Clase is obviously the big time guy for them.
I mean, he was one of the leaders last year in close in saves. I think he had like 36 last year.
40.
Oh god.
Yeah, 1.36 on the ERA to 24-year-old. This guy's incredible.
He throws some power. He's got some gas. He's got a bunch of good stuff.
He's got a good cutter too. So
yeah.
I would say that looking across their 5 starters, this is a team that has a chance to win every day. Like you have a guy that can go out, especially the top 2 with Shane Bieber and Tristan McKenzie. But the other 3, I think, have the ability to go give quality starts.
I agree.
Across any day and any given day. So
I agree.
It's just about can they put up enough runs and can the bullpen hold it? Can the guy that's coming in the 6th to the 8th, 6, 7, 8 innings, can those guys hold the game for
Clase to
close it? So I would not be surprised if this team maybe didn't get in on the Brian Reynolds opportunity with Pittsburgh right now. We were just talking about the Central in another video, the NL Central in another video, but this seems like a team that's maybe a piece or two away, depending on what they want to add in their lineup to give them a real good shot at making it even farther in the playoffs.
Especially if you get somebody in there that has a little bit of pop and has a better average than a Miles Straw.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, Miles Straw is really only in there because they don't have much else to play.
He's a good defensive player, too.
Yeah. So, but I mean, you put a Brian Reynolds in there with a Stephen Kwan and Oscar Gutierrez, Oscar Gonzalez,
yeah.
who had a good year last year.
Yeah, almost batted 300 with 11 homers at 25 years old. So.
Yeah, so I mean, you put another piece out there. I think they're looking at a really solid lineup. So, moving next over to the Chicago White Sox, obviously did a big dump last year with a bunch of their players. They got rid of a couple different people, but the big piece that they got rid of was Jose Abreu. They didn't re-sign him. Went to Houston. He's going to be a big part of theirs. Watch for a video to come soon about that division and the Houston Astros.
I would look at this lineup and say it's balanced. I think this is a team that just flat out underachieved the last 2 years.
Right.
And if you're a White Sox fan, you got to feel that way because I mean Dylan Cease, Lance Lynn, Lucas Giolito,
Michael Kopech.
And now Mike Clevenger.
Add Mike Clevenger into that.
I mean, you got 5 good starters. You got 5 guys that, again, just like I said with Cleveland, can go get you a win every day. I would feel really good about Dylan Cease being a 250 strikeout guy.
Oh yeah, Dylan Cease is going to
be going to have a huge year.
If you get the Lucas Giolito 2 years ago versus Lucas Giolito of last year.
Yeah, same thing with Lance Lynn.
Yeah,
when they traded to go get Lance Lynn from Texas, that dude had like a 2.2 ERA.
And was striking out like 9 people in a game.
Yeah. So, but I think it's interesting. Andrew Vaughn moving to first base. We've seen what he can do. Gavin Sheets is going to play in the outfield. I think both of those guys can flip back and forth.
They can flip, yeah. But you still have Yoan Moncada, which is a young stud at third base.
If he can get himself right. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know what happened to him.
But this is a guy with so much potential.
And you got Luis Roberts in that outfield along with Eloy Jimenez. Both of those guys have such...
Eloy's playing DH. Andrew Benintendi's playing left this year for the White Sox, which I think makes them better defensively, in my opinion.
Absolutely, because Eloy Jimenez is really in there for his bat.
Yeah.
But I mean, Luis Roberts is a solid player.
Yep.
Eloy Jimenez is solid.
I've been a big fan of Tim Anderson at shortstop, too.
Oh, yeah, Tim Anderson's great.
Yeah, 300 hitter, 10 homers, maybe 50 RBIs, 15 total stolen bases.
Yeah.
So.
And they add Elvis Andrews
at second base.
Yeah, so I mean, that's another solid pickup for them. So I mean, I think Chicago did a lot, or did some to help up for what they lost. I mean, obviously they're going to be lacking in the bullpen. Losing Liam Hendricks for the season really hurts them because that's a really big shutdown closer.
Well, Kendall Graveman has been a closer before and can be a good closer.
But he's not Liam Hendricks.
No, I agree.
He's not Liam Hendricks. So I mean, Liam Hendricks might be able to come back. I don't know if he's been shut down for the entire season.
Yeah, it looks like he's just on the IL. So
yeah, I mean, I think was it lymphoma or leukemia?
It's leukemia.
Leukemia. Okay, so I mean, he could potentially come back. Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Yeah,
okay.
You're right. It's non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Yeah, so I mean, he could potentially come back depending on how the treatments go, but I would imagine he's going to be out for the season.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Jake Diekman, Joe Kelly, and Aaron Varmer are all 3 guys that I think can do a decent job in the bullpen. Kendall Graveman, obviously, at the closer position, a good chance.
I mean, he's had a lot of closing experience, so I do agree with that.
This is a team that I think could really use the closer from Pittsburgh. We were just talking about
Bednar.
If Pittsburgh is willing to move on from these guys, this is a team that could use him in a bullpen role.
I think that would be a good pickup.
So we'll roll to Minnesota next. I would say I don't know that they really had a big offseason. I guess adding Joey Gallo maybe.
Well, they went out and traded for Pablo Lopez. So they went out and got a decent pitcher to come in to kind of help with them.
Yeah.
Getting Tyler Maul or Mayhill from Cincinnati, and also getting Kenta Maeda.
Yeah.
I mean, Kenta Maeda's had an up and down career, but I mean, he's all in all, he's a pretty solid. He was solid pitching for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's not horrible.
I mean, Sonny Gray's still their ace.
Aging Sonny Gray.
Aging Sonny Gray.
But I mean, they still have Jorge Polanco on that team. They gave up, the American League batting champ last year to get Pablo Lopez and Luis Arias.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they gave up a decent hitter, but, I mean, they still have...
They have Kyle Farmer now, which will be interesting to see him kind of play maybe some third base, shortstop.
Right, and I mean... they
Carlos
still,
Correa and all that drama.
Yeah, they still have Byron Buxton out there who can be a solid hitter.
Yeah.
Max Kepler is a boomer bust type of guy. He can go out there and hit bombs. We all know Joey Gallo can hit a bomb, but if he's not hitting a bomb, he's striking out. So
yeah.
I think this could be a team that could benefit from going and maybe getting a Brian Reynolds or just another outfielder in general, because you don't want to go all season with Joey Gallo.
I'm curious, like, if they're really trying to compete, right? Michael A. Taylor, a backup outfielder for them. Obviously, he can work in Nick Gordon as well, but is Minnesota really trying to compete, or are they just trying to get by this year?
Right? Honestly, they're probably trying to get by because with them getting rid of the batting champ last year,
yeah.
I mean, it really says a lot. Granted, they got a decent pitcher out of that trade, but it was a 1-1.
Yeah.
So they didn't really. I mean, they gave up the batting champ to get an okay pitcher coming out of Miami, who was pitching in a big park.
Yeah.
So, but I really don't know if they're going to really be competing this much this year. I think the two teams that are going to compete in this, we'll go over this later in this video, are going to be obviously Cleveland and Chicago.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be the two biggest. Detroit coming up next. I mean, what can you say about Detroit?
I mean, you know the five guys on this team that are starters, right? You know Erod, you know Spencer Turnbull, you know Matthew Boyd, you know Matt Manning, and you know Michael Lorenzen. Like, you know who they are. I wouldn't say any of them are better than probably a fourth pitcher in a normal rotation.
Yeah, I mean, Spencer Turnbull's had an up and down career. He's had good games, but then he'll go and give up 12 runs. Yeah. So, I mean, he's not always been that solid. I mean, Erod's probably the best pitcher on that staff, and that's saying a lot.
That's not a good thing.
Yeah, so. I mean, and he's no ace by any means. I mean, he had a great couple of years in Boston, but when he went to Detroit, it just kind of all went downhill. And I mean, there's not really much on that team other than
Spencer Torkelson is the big name.
The big name at first. Yeah. I mean, they do have Javi Baez, which they went out and signed a couple of years ago. Which
Austin Meadows is on this team. He's fallen off a bit, but maybe he comes back.
I mean, Akil Baddoo, the left fielder, had a solid start to his rookie campaign 2 years ago, and then last year just completely fell off. So
Jonathan Shoop's here.
Yeah, I mean, he's another boomer bust type of guy. So
Cesar Hernandez is a backup for them. Remember, Cesar used to be a 300 hitter at one point.
Yeah, for Philly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not really much to really brag about in Detroit. They're definitely a long way from being the Detroit of a couple of years ago when they were winning championships or competing for championships. I mean, Miggy's in his last year, so I mean, I would like to see Miggy do something solid.
Yeah.
I mean, for him to still be hitting 250 at 39 years old is actually pretty damn good.
Yeah, he just passed 500 homers, so I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe get to 515 is probably what he's shooting for here. Can he hit 8 homers this year to get?
I would imagine he could hit 8 if he stays healthy enough.
So
his problem is he's just another casualty of signing a dude to a 10+ year contract.
Yep.
So you get stuck with them in this.
Stop paying people till they're 40. Stop it.
It's not worth it. But
so
moving right along into another team that is just.
You're big on some of these young guys for the Royals, though.
There are a couple people on Kansas City that I like, but it's definitely not the Kansas City team of 2015 when they won the championship.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, but Brady Singer's a solid pitcher. He's not great, but he's not bad. Zach Greinke's not the Zach Greinke that he was his first go-round with Kansas City.
Or the second go-round.
Or his third go-round. Oh, they actually have Ryan Yarbrough.
They do have Ryan Yarbrough.
So that's
Brad Keller. Jordan Lyles actually pitched pretty well for Baltimore last year. So
I mean, they have some decent players.
Scott Barlow is your closer.
You have Salvi at catcher.
Aroldis Chapman is in that bullpen.
Yeah,
so,
in his 5 ERA.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how that goes for you, but...
But they got the kid, but they got the first baseman that I really like, the Vinny Pastrquintino.
Yeah, good luck saying that.
Yeah, and Hunter Dozier. Hunter Dozier's been a good guy. I mean,
they got Bobby Witt. I mean,
and they got Bobby Witt playing third or short.
He's playing short.
Hunter Dozier's at third. Okay.
Yeah.
Hunter Dozier can go between first, third, and one of the corner outfields. So, they have some versatility in their players. I like where they're going. They're trying to go with that young lineup to get back to what they were in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I still think they're a long way away from that.
Yeah.
But I don't think. I mean, I think they're probably gonna have a better year than they had last year.
Yeah.
I would put them over Detroit this year.
Okay.
I think Detroit's gonna be the bottom of the barrel in this division.
Okay.
But going into what I think is gonna happen, I think Cleveland's gonna be your number one again. I think Cleveland just has what it takes to be that number one. They've got a solid rotation. They've got a solid lineup. It's just balanced across the board. I put Chicago in at that second position. I think they lost some key pieces, but they did enough to keep themselves relevant.
Yeah.
Minnesota. I'm going to put Minnesota at third. Again, have a couple key pieces, but not enough to keep them in the talks. Because just like we discussed, I'm not really sure if they're wanting to be in contention or if they're just wanting to try to get by this year and see what they can get. Maybe come the trade deadline.
Yeah.
See what they can ship out to a contender to get something back in return.
Yeah.
I'm put KC at fourth and Detroit being at the bottom of the barrel.
Okay. I'm going to go a little different from you on this one.
Go Chicago first.
I am going to take the White Sox first. I think maybe this is finally the
follow
year.
that sword.
Yeah, maybe this is finally the year that they put it together. I think their lineup looks really balanced. I think their pitching staff is just as good as Cleveland's. And I would say that I feel a little bit more confident in their bullpen over Cleveland's, not from a closer perspective, from a bullpen as a whole.
I understand that. If you put
Cleveland,
Minnesota over them,
no, God, no. Actually, I'm going to really shock you on this one. I'm taking Cleveland too, and I think Cleveland's going to be right there with them. This will be a tight division, coming down to maybe 4 or 5 games at the very end for this one. I'm going to put the Kansas City Royals 3.
Okay, I like that.
I'm taking them from 65 to probably 70, 75 wins. Finishing third.
Do you think they could push up to the 80 mark?
No. I think they're, unless they make a big move in the trade perception. I mean, they're starting pitching. You look at that starting pitching and you say, there's nobody on here that I'm guaranteed to probably get 10 wins out of, and that's probably the tough thing for them.
You might be able to get 10 out of Greinke depending on how good he is. Singer can probably get you 10.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. I'm going to take Minnesota to really fall off a little bit this year. I'm dropping Minnesota below the 70-win mark.
I can agree with that. I can see that.
I wouldn't be surprised if Minnesota maybe moves on from some pieces at the trade deadline
Sonny
this year
Gray.
too. Sonny Gray will probably be a guy that teams are looking for a third starter for the postseason. So I think Minnesota actually drops, and then I'm with you. I think Detroit loses 100-plus games this year.
And they're just bottom.
I mean, I just think that it's going to be a really bad year for the Tigers. So if you're a Detroit Tigers fan, I'm sorry.
We're sorry.
Yeah, you're going to finish 5th in your division. You're probably going to lose 100 games. So that's where I'm at. I did want to add one last thing to the Kansas City Royals when we were talking about them. MJ Melendez, the backup catcher, really excited to see him take on a full DH role this year.
That kid came in strong.
Yeah, he batted really well last year.
Yeah,
so
he was great
him
last year.
Former Brave and a guy that I was really hyped on when Atlanta drafted, Drew Waters, also playing in the outfield out there.
Oh, is he got the start now?
He's not a starter, but he's one of the outfielders for the
Okay.
Royals. He's going to be a spring training, trying to get some playing action. So, would really love to see.
I'd love to see him do really well. I mean,
actually make it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, granted, him coming up in our farm system really kind of hurt because you had Ronald Acuna, Michael Harris, and you have Ozuna up there that we can't really get rid of right now, and Rosario. So I mean,
Oh God, yeah.
His problem was just being hurt. If he can stay healthy, I can definitely see that kid playing, being a starting left fielder or starting right fielder for Kansas City.
Yeah. I'm excited to see him. Possibly see him get some time and some action because he deserves it, and it'd be really cool to see. So,
I think that's it. So.
Hit us in the comments. Let us know who you think is going to win the AL Central. And if you're a Cleveland fan, I'm eating my words. You made the playoffs and you advanced.
He's gonna fall on that sword. I'm telling you.
But I'm falling on the sword of the White Sox. Hit me in the comments. As always, we'll get back to you. And make sure you like, comment, subscribe for us.